How's it going, y'all? This is McFrostyBoy, and in this video, I'm bringing you a great conversation regarding competitive mentality that I had with one of our Frosty friends, Canes1, while on stream yesterday. I strongly recommend that you watch this entire video, because strong mentality is the key for improving in not just Apex Legends or even video games, but for reaching ideal performance in any field. If you find this content to be useful, upvoting the linked post on Reddit is going to be the best way to help me get the word out, in addition to pressing the like button, commenting, and subscribing to the channel. If you're interested in addressing any questions or challenges you're personally facing in the game, you can catch me in my Twitch stream or in our Discord server linked below. Alright, let's get right into it. I know we were trying to talk about like how to help you like get aim out from Kovacs into, you know, your game of choice. And I guess I'm just like you have approaches that you can try, right? It's like you can try to be more strategic and remove like emotional distractions so that you only focus on your aim, or you can like, okay, you're supreme in CSGO, like you know the starts in the game sense, good, okay, and the strats in the game sense, so like there's that. But like when you push, some reason I keep missing the one taps, even though on my screen I have my shit placed on their heads. I mean, you know, there is like we talked about, like the idea of like being able to perform even under like the, you know, emotional pressure and like all the distractions that like the game is going to demand of you. Like that is a skill, right? Like it's not something that there's like a one quick trick around or anything like that. It is a skill, and like any skill, and you know, with aim as good as yours, right? Like you know that it is a skill that is honed. Like skills are honed over time with practice and persistence, and you know, a sense of direction and like what you're trying to do, right? And it takes time. Is sort of, I guess, the truth. You know, it's like there are things you can try, but like, you know, like I don't want to be dishonest or disingenuous with you, right? It's like that you're what you are talking about is a skill, right? And it's a skill that players at every skill level struggle with, and that everyone throughout their careers of playing whatever game in whatever capacity they do is going to deal with, right? And so, you know, on some level, it's like just being patient with yourself. And so if I were, the analogy I often use is that I am a janitor for, you know, a high performing, you know, sports team, right? Like let's say, I mean, I don't know, whatever basketball team, like, you know, you're like is you know, is local to you or whatever, right? That basketball team, right? They've got a stadium and you're the janitor there. And so your job is to make sure that the stadium is clean, that is ready and prepared for peak performance, right? But you cannot force peak performance. So it's like, you know, it's like whoever's like cleaning up, you know, whatever. I don't even know basketball teams. Like whatever team like LeBron's on, the Lakers, right? Yeah, whoever's cleaning their stadium, right? Like they can't sit down and be like, all right, LeBron, today you're gonna, you know, just drop like 30 points and, you know, not miss a single shot and like literally just style over these guys. Like today's the day. You have to do it, you know, do or die sort of thing. Like you like that's not the relationship you have with your aim, right? Like the relationship you have is, okay, I'm going to remove all the things that get in your way, right? The first thing is like, I'm going to make sure that I press the play button, right? Because if you don't press the play button, then it is impossible to have optimal performance. The other things I'm going to do is like, I'm going to practice. I'm going to attend to my skill so that I can grow and flourish, and that, you know, that, I don't know, like the stadium's like not super dirty, like when LeBron shows up to play. I'm also going to be like supportive, like when things don't go well, right? And I'm going to try and identify things that could be done better. So if I see LeBron like slip and fall and like crack his head open on the floorboards, right? Then I'm going to make sure that like the sweat gets, you know, wiped up like cleaner or whatever, I don't know, or the floors get waxed or whatever it takes, right? Like, so it's like, so that I guess is like sort of like the way I look at the situation, right? It's like you are just like, if you focus on moving the things that will prevent you from having optimal performance, then I think in time you will find the results that you are looking for, right? It's not something that happens like tonight. It's not something that happens in a week, even months, right? It could take years, right? But like the whole thing is like all along the way, you're just finding what are the things that are preventing me from performing well, right? One of those things would be not practicing. Another would be like not playing or going in with a cruddy mindset or going in with like a mentality of like blaming your teammates, right? Or even potentially like placing stress on yourself of like, you know, I want to like put up clips and like perform. It's like, just let it happen, you know, it'll happen. Like really, it will, because it's like, if you put in all this work, like have confidence in yourself, right? Like if you're putting in all this work, then it is ridiculous to believe that the performance will not come. Like that's actually insane to me, right? So it's like for me, like, right, like I like sit down to play Apex and I don't stress about like my aim. It's like sometimes like I'll whine about it because it's like, oh, I like wish I did better or whatever. But it's like at the end of the day, it's like I know that I've done everything I need to, and like that I need to do in order to like have like, you know, optimal performance. Yeah. It's like hard though. Like another analogy, I guess, is like, you know, like if you think about like your aim and just like your mechanical performance within the game in general as like another person, right? Like, and like just think about the things that you say to yourself, and imagine like if you were saying that to a teammate, right? It's like, oh my god, like you idiot, like I can't believe you missed that, right? Like if you're saying that to yourself, imagine saying that to your teammate, right? Like that would be so freaking toxic. And it's like, you know, but you need to be like your own like number one like cheerleader, right? So it's like, so your own number one cheerleader is also incredibly abusive and like awful and toxic. So it's like, you know, like that's like another thing that would get in the way of like great performance, right? So I don't know, I guess I would just like encourage you, right, that like to have faith in yourself and the time and the work that you know you've put in, and just keep putting yourself into situations where you can perform well. And like when it doesn't go your way, right, like just try and learn from it, right? And just say it's, and like even if like you can't like see in that moment like, oh, here's the lesson that I should have learned from that situation, like you just need to trust that you did learn something, like, because your brain is like a computer, you know, like, or like an AI. You're training your AI, like, cause it all runs on instinct. Like there's like no part of you where you're like, I'm going to move my hand like 2 inches to the left at like 12 degrees, you know, above like horizontal. Like that's like not, like there's no part of you that does that, right? So it's like, so there's like a huge part of it that's like instinct, and you know, like the instinct must be trained. It must, you know, sometimes see a certain scenario or situation played out many, many, many times before it is 100% sure this is the response that I should have. So, you know, it might be that it just needs to see someone's head, you know, as you come around a corner, you know, that it needs to one tap like 50 times. It needs to miss that shot 50 times or 100 times or 1,000 times before it's like, oh, like I need to do this in that situation. This is what's important to focus on. And like, this is how I respond. And then, right, then like you start to see forward progress. But it's like, it's just like, and that might just be particular to you. Like some people, it may only take 2 times. Some people, it takes 1,000 times, because we're all different and we all learn in different ways and have different lessons to learn, right? So it's like, you know, for example, for me, right, it's like I have an incredible degree of impatience, like when it comes to pacing, of like pace of play for me, like, right, it's like I want to move quickly and I want our team to be active, right? And sometimes that leads me to demand from my teammates like a level of, I guess, just like speed of decision making that they are not accustomed to and incapable of meeting, right? And so like one of the lessons I have to learn, right, is playing with what I got, right? Playing with my teammates and like playing in a way that keeps them comfortable, because at the end of the day, like I need them to hit shots. I don't, like strategically we could like, you know, miss opportunities or whatever, but it's like if they hit their shots, then we'll be okay. And we could have like, I could give us like the best engages possible because we're playing like along to my pace and my strategy. And because I'm always going to believe that I'm the smartest in the room because I'm just really arrogant like that. You know, and so like we might do all those things, right? But if they're uncomfortable, right, and they've been like whining the entire time, like, oh, I don't have enough loot, or I'm not ready for this, or whatever, and like they're just uncomfortable, then then we lose. And like that's a lesson I have to learn, right? Because I'm just a very impatient and like my impatient person, and my confidence in my decision making can also make me arrogant, right? And so it's like those are lessons that I have had a hard time learning those lessons, let me tell you, right? But some people, like that's like, dude, like why would you do that in the first? Like just don't be such a jerk, right? Like just chill and play the game, right? Like take a breath, like sort of thing, right? And so for some people that's just like not hard. It's like even if like we're gonna talk about like specifics of aiming, right? Like you probably have, like segments of the aim skill that you are, noticeably better at than others, right? Like you might be really great at click timing type stuff, or target switching or tracking or whatever, right? And it's like, and that's just because there's like it just takes less reps of like the learning stuff for you than it does for other people. But like that doesn't like mean it's like that. It's like not like good or bad or fair or unfair, right? It's just like if it takes you 50 reps to learn something that only takes someone 2 reps, then it's like you still got to put in the 50 reps. Last game, I for like 3 quads, and I also suck like 3 like all 1 taps. Yeah, so that's great, right? So it's like that's like all stuff that's like moving you in the right direction, and it's like, and like you should be happy about those things, right? Like you should celebrate those things, and it's like you should also celebrate the times like when things didn't go well, right? Because like, and this like comes down to a trust thing, but you have to trust that you learned what you needed to in that situation, right? Or you at least like made forward progress, right? If we're gonna liken everything else to like a video game, like think of it like as like a, I don't know, like a management game, right? You have to put a certain number of points in before you actually like, get the perk or like the ability or whatever, right? And for certain characters or players or individuals, right? Like it's gonna take 50, and some it's only gonna take 2, and fair, unfair, whatever. There may be more efficient ways to get more points, but it's like the fact has not changed that you must always be, you personally have to reach those 50 points. You have to put in that time, you have to put in that effort. And maybe you're not as efficient as you could be right now. That's okay. Like that's fine, because you need to learn how to be more efficient with your learning also. So it's like it just, like what you can't do and like what you don't know, like it's just, it's like, it's all okay. It's like, because there are just certain things you need to learn and do to get to, the optimal version of yourself, right? And the really cool thing is that is going to be very distinctive and very unique relative to everyone else. That like, as like sort of like you reach like peak ability like within a game, I have found personally that like people diverge and grow more and more unique and more easily individually identifiable, which I think is really cool. So it's like, you start to find identity within the game, because like you have to find your own way to learn critical lessons that, are universal within the game. So I don't know. So at the end of the day, I'm sorry, I don't have like a tip that you're going to walk away with and be like, okay, I got it. I got this on lock. All I can say is that like you are doing the right things, even if you don't believe it yourself, and that like you will get there as long as you continue to put in the time and like good faith effort. Oh, I'm glad you found it valuable. Kind of like, I don't know, the goal of why I stream at all, or why I make videos on YouTube or anything like that, is specifically to have that conversation, because a lot of people just get frustrated and beat on themselves, and I hate that. It's like, honestly, if you think about it, like what you do is incredible. Like, really. Imagine being someone who has never played an FPS and asking them to do what you do. And like, like you and I both know that's ridiculous, right? And well, surprise, surprise, the majority of the human population hasn't played an FPS, hasn't even played video games, right? Like, so it's like, just like on an absolute scale, right? Like what you're doing is absolutely incredible. And like, and you're getting frustrated at yourself because you can't be even more incredible. Like, which I just think like, shouldn't be how things are. Like, celebrate, the small victories that you get, because they're all part of getting to the finish line. And it's like, and I think the only reason like why you would not be the best at something and not like be like just, number one is because you quit, right? Like you quit in some form, right? Like you might quit like internally, and so you might still play the game, but like just like half butt it, and and then you just can't grow anymore, right? Oh my god, what was that? I just like had like an arm spasm. But it's, yeah, so it's like you just can't quit. And like I said, like some people, you know, it takes 50 reps, some people it takes 2 reps, right? But the whole thing is like if that 2 reps guy quits after because he meets his challenge that takes 50 reps, then you got him beat, right? So it's like, it's like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. I think it's like a dissatisfying answer for some people, right? But it's like, just have patience and like believe in yourself and like do not quit. Like for any reason, do not quit. Like if you're like, I don't know how serious you are. Yeah, it is annoying. Like, and again, like, you know, that shouldn't turn into something you beat on yourself for either, right? It's like everyone quits mentally. Everyone checks out. I can't act like I don't check out, right? It's like I have days. I mean, I just detailed to you, like, you know, like one of my own personal, like, mentality struggles, like when it comes to like dealing with teammates who aren't playing at the speed I want them to play at, right? So it's like, you know, no one is above sort of like having challenges with their mentality. But that's also a journey you have to take within the game, right? And I think one of the most interesting ones, right? It's like, you learn a lot about yourself as a person, and like learning how to deal with things that frustrate you, or like not being able to meet personal goals within the game, right? That's like very valuable life lesson. People who get good at that in a video game will be successful in life. They'll just be better people. They'll be able to like be better to the people around them. So it's like, I don't know. There's like so many good things about what you're doing and like your continued effort. And so it's like, I can only just encourage you to continue to do that. Like that's really all I have for you, is like, you are on the right path. You are well on your way, much further along than many others. And the many others are looking at you and wishing I wish I could be like that, right? I wish I could have like that kind of aim, or, you know, reach that kind of performance, right? Or even like be worried about like one-tapping people, right? Like, and so it's like, you know, to be happy about those things and to be like determined in like your pursuit of overcoming the things that still frustrate you. And it's like, and just not to quit. It's like, do not quit. And I don't know how serious you are about like whatever, like, you know, if it's like, if you're just like looking to make clips just to satisfy yourself, that's totally cool. You know, and it's like, for me, it's like, I'm just like in pursuit of like just the optimal form of myself. And I have no indication that I should quit, and that like I am not improving, and that there's no possibility of further forward progress. And so it's like, until I observe something like that, you know, I'm not going to quit. You're trying to go pro, but the unmotivation is there. Like, yeah, so that's the whole thing, is like, do not quit. Do not quit. Do not quit. Right? Like, if you want to go pro, then like want it, like bad, right? Like don't, like, so it's like for me, right? It's like, I want to, you know, become like a streamer and, you know, a content creator, right? That brings these sorts of conversations like to the forefront, right? Like, so that like when we talk about like doing well in a video game, when someone's like, what should I work on? It's like, work on how you think about yourself, all right? That's like step one, and have like a strong base there before we even start talking concepts and strategy. Like that's like what I aim to do, right? Like with my community and who I am. Also, thank you for following. I didn't realize that you had, but thank you very much for doing that. I appreciate your support. You know, but like that's what I'm trying to do, right? So it's like, I have a goal, like, and I'm not going to quit, and I'm not going to give up on that. And it's like, obviously, like there's a massive distance between me and, you know, like top level streamers and top level content creators. There's a huge distance to cross in terms of quality of content, the value that I bring to my viewers, like, and the consistency with which I bring that value, right? So it's like, there's a lot of distance to cover. Yeah, I'm glad that you feel that I helped you. You know, that's what I'm here for. That's why I'm doing the whole thing. It's why I'm here in the first place, because I don't want to see people quit. I don't want to see you quit. I want to see you get there, you know? Because, I don't know. It's like satisfying, like watching people become good at the thing that, like, that they were kind of always meant to be good at. And it's like intensely dissatisfying watching someone give up on themselves. It's like, so like, do not quit. Please don't. Like, the whole thing, like, so it's like, the point I was trying to make, right, is that I've been at this for a non-trivial amount of time, and, you know, things aren't necessarily optimal for me, right? But it's like, I've continuously made forward progress, right? It's like, yeah, maybe I'll go like, you know, an entire week without like getting another follower, but then like I get another follower, right? Or maybe I'll go like, you know, an entire week like without like figuring out like a way to improve like the stream or the content that I make for YouTube or anything. But then I have an idea, right? And I try something new. And it's like all of that's forward progress. And it's like, yeah, maybe it's like not on the time scale that I would prefer or think it ought to happen in, right? It's like I'm 25, right? Kind of probably a bit on the later side, like when it comes to like this sort of stuff, right? But it's like, I don't care. Like who gives a shit? Like there's nothing physiologically wrong with me that's going to prevent me just because I'm a little older. I don't have like anything like in my life, like socially, that's like going to prevent me from doing that. So it's like, the only reason is like if I like somehow like let everyone else get in my head, right? And they're like, oh, like, you know, you're too old for this stuff. Like, you know, like, you got to give it up and get on with your real job and like blah, blah, blah. And like all this, like, I don't care. It's like, I can do both. It's like, I can have like my job and, you know, commit a reasonable amount of energy and pour maximum effort into this, right? And so like when it comes to like going pro, like just don't quit, right? Like continue putting in the time, even if it like doesn't happen on the time scale you think it should happen, even if it doesn't happen within the lifespan of Valorant, right? Like just like think like that. Like think in terms of that, right? Like even if like what you want to happen doesn't happen in the time scale of Valorant, it's like thank you. I really appreciate that. I mean, all I'm doing is I'm just speaking from like my personal experience, what I know, like, and like what has worked for me. But it's like, you know, and if you ever like want to talk through any of this stuff, it's like, you know, I'm here. It's like, I'm doing this because, I mean, people need just, I don't know, someone else like in their corner, right? I've always needed that, like as, you know, just an individual, right? And so it's like, it makes me happy to be what I know other people also need.